how to hear from God for getting words of knowledge, making decisions for yourself, prophetic words, words of wisdom, things like that. Now, I did a video a couple of days ago, and if you click on this comment, you can go back to it. It kind of gives you more of a background of spirit, flesh, your mind, how all of that works. And it would be really good to watch that before you watch this, but you don't have to. Now, what I'm going to talk about is just a way God speaks to me. So don't try to make too much of a doctrine out of this. This was one incident, but it can show you a general pattern. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but just something similar. So on a TikTok live the other day, somebody had commented how they had experienced physical healing, I think of eczema, or the healing was in process, while they were watching the live. And so we began to talk about the goodness of God, his love for her that healed her. And so we were focused on God. Now, it wasn't some kind of, hard straining, like sitting in a lotus position and going, God, God, God. No, we're talking about God. We're focused on him, his goodness and his love. But very easy, nothing difficult there. Okay, I was reading the text and then talking on the live. Suddenly, as she was texting and everything, this picture of like a freight train with a brilliant green like engine and maybe the caboose, if people still know what those are, at the end came through my mind. It was a very brilliant green, and it was a freight train. Nobody had mentioned a train. Nothing train related had happened. This just suddenly came into my mind as we were discussing her healing and God's love. So I was not trying to get a word of knowledge, a word of wisdom, prophecy for her, anything like that. It just came in out of nowhere. Now, you can be more open to the Lord for those things. On lives, it's kind of difficult for me to do that. And, I don't try to do it. I'm not focused in that direction generally, but I am open to the Lord. Hey, if you want me to say something, I will. And so this works for me more one-on-one with people. I'm more apt to do this if I'm out, have somebody in front of me. That's just how it works with me, just my preferences. Again, that's not a rule or a doctrine or anything like that. But this just came into my head. Again, wasn't trying to figure it out. It kind of came from nowhere with no context, if you will. Now, I've learned that that's the Lord generally showing me something. And so, if you want to be a fool for Christ, if you want to test out words of knowledge and know, hey, is that the voice of God or did I make that up or something like that? You have to try it out. You have to test it. And so I told her, I said, hey, I just saw this picture of a freight train, of this big train. Do you live next to a railroad track? Like, what's going on with that? I asked her, what does that mean to you? And I want to show you her answer.
When God came to me in a dream, and actually following up, it was a train. And it was me getting on a train with 4 kids and leaving.
And see, that was a confirmation for her that she had done the right thing. You might could lump that in prophecy. You might could lump it in word of knowledge. I don't try to divide those things up really. But it was a word spoken from God that she needed to hear. And I passed it on. Now, if you recall, there was something about it being green as well. Okay, here's where your flesh comes in, okay? So if you went back and watched that earlier video, you know what I'm talking about. So your flesh goes, okay, well, that worked, okay? That you got a good result there. Just don't say nothing about the green, okay? That's what your human reasoning, your brain starts to say, quit while you're ahead, all right? But I learned, hey, just keep going with it. Be a fool for Christ. If you're wrong about it and it doesn't matter, that's okay, all right? But your brain wants to shut that down. Your brain wants you to look good or it to look good. The flesh wants to look good to other people, okay? So a lot of times, again, even when something one time was right, your flesh wants to go ahead and, hey, let's just be right. Let's just look good for the public. The Lord showed me like some part of the train was like a dark, forest green, like a really deep, rich green. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, that means like I'm growing in Christ. It's like a spiritual growth because I've took that oath to the Lord to leave the like a tree growing and then it's like bearing fruit. That's what it means to me, like the green. That like
So, as a minister once said, faith is spelled RISK. Now, that's really not just a huge risk there, but you got to be able to step out and try these things and listen to that voice and see what happens. Okay, to learn the voice of God. And remember, your flesh, or even, the evil one whispering to your flesh sometimes makes you want, don't do it, stop, don't, stop, don't. It's always stop, don't. And look at what would have been missed if I hadn't said that, if I hadn't have went out on that ledge a little bit. Now, has there been other times I went out on that ledge and it's like, nope, that doesn't mean anything to me? Yes. I've also learned that their initial response is not always right. I've had people message me later and say, you know what, I basically lied to you. Yes, that did mean something to me. So you got to take all these things in balance. Don't go to extreme either way on these things, but you got to get experience testing out that voice that you hear. Hope that helps. Any questions or comments down below?